Episode 1: The Rise of the Pajama Prophet. Ugh, Whiskers, he groaned, flopping dramatically onto the sofa. The ancient cat stretched, a furry picture of complete indifference. I think I'm going to starve. Like, actually starve to death. Whiskers blinked slowly, his tail thumping in mild irritation. Ben sighed. The exertion of contemplating a trek to the nearest convenience store was overwhelming. His fingers twitched, instinctively reaching for his phone. And then he scowled. Even meme scrolling had lost its appeal. Suddenly, a strange clicking sound emanated from the jumble of gadgets on his coffee table. His quote-unquote replica of an ancient alien tech translation device, one at some space-themed convention, was flashing erratically. Ben shrugged, probably busted for good. He'd always suspected it was a glorified paperweight anyway. Junk, he grumbled, snatching up the device and giving it an experimental shake. The device buzzed angrily, then unleashed a series of garbled beeps and fractured syllables. It released a final sputtering screech before lapsing into silence. Well, that was weird. He placed the malfunctioning translator on his coffee table and returned to his existential potato chipless dilemma. Little did he know, those garbled beeps were hurtling across the galaxy, triggering a chain reaction that would change his life and possibly the fate of the entire cosmos. On a world of gleaming chrome and perpetually sanitized surfaces, a council of the Vorlocks convened, their multifaceted eyes fixed upon a bewildering projection, a fuzzy image of a creature clad in a soft, misshapen garment, clutching a feline and issuing incomprehensible whines. Analysis, commanded Elder Zirzan, their voice a series of precise clicks. Primary subject exhibits clear signs of advanced enlightenment. The analytical assistant droned. Rejection of restrictive attire, elevation of a lesser species. These are classic indicators of profound wisdom. Murmurs of agreement echoed through the sterile chamber. The Vorlocks revered efficiency and logic above all. Here, finally, was a being demonstrating an existence devoid of pointless exertion and emotional entanglement. Meanwhile, on the swirling, neon-lit planet of Fluvia, a very different scene unfolded. The Fluvians, gelatinous creatures capable of changing shape and color to reflect their emotions, were in a collective state of ecstatic bliss. The cuddle of compassion, a high-pitched voice squeaked, as images of the Pajama Prophet and his cat flickered on their vast, communal viewing screens. It's without a doubt a message of universal harmony, a Fluvian yelled. Waves of joyful pinks and blues rippled through the crowd. They latched onto the feline, declaring it a sacred symbol of peace. Within a solar cycle, Fluvian children across the planet cuddled their pet rock lizards with renewed fervor, convinced they were honoring the intergalactic message. Back on Earth, Ben finally roused himself from his snack coma-induced nap. A quick pantry raid confirmed his worst fears. He'd have to venture out into the unforgiving wilderness, also known as the gas station down the street. Fine, fine, he muttered, begrudgingly pulling on sneakers with mismatched laces. But Whiskers, if I get abducted by aliens or something, it's totally on you. Whiskers, as always, remained a study in furry indifference. However, somewhere in the deepest reaches of space, the Vorlocks approached Earth in their most advanced stealth vessel, on a mission to rendezvous with their newfound prophet, and the Fluvians designed interspecies friendship bracelets, inspired by a lazily discarded sock. Ben shuffled down the sidewalk, a miasma of disgruntled apathy swirling around him. The outside world was a harsh intrusion on his perfectly calibrated routine of internet scrolling and sporadic napping. Ugh, why is the sun so sunny? He mumbled, squinting against the harsh afternoon light. A sleek, metallic object shimmered into existence, directly in front of him. Ben recoiled, sleep-deprived reflexes momentarily kicking in. Greetings, O enlightened one. A dispassionate, synthesized voice echoed from the vessel. Ben blinked, then blinked again. Floating before him was a spaceship, the kind he normally only saw in those low-budget sci-fi movies he watched when insomnia struck. Uh, hello? Was there a protocol for this? Should he offer it potato chips? The ship's hatch slid open, revealing a sterile chamber within. 4 Vorlocks emerged, rigid and imposing in their gleaming exosuits. Ben's eyes widened, landing on the assortment of blinking, decidedly non-earthly equipment strapped to their forms. "We come in peace," Elder Zerzan pronounced, their multifaceted eyes fixated on Ben. "We have observed your teachings, and we wish to learn from your wisdom." Ben's carefully maintained slacker facade momentarily cracked. "My teachings?" he sputtered. "Your rejection of societal constraints, your elevation of the feline form, your snacking techniques." Zerzan's voice held a hint of what might have been awe. Ben's brain attempted and failed to process this. Was this some kind of elaborate prank? He glanced around, desperately searching for the hidden cameras. "Come," Zerzan gestured toward the ship. "We shall translate your wisdom for the betterment of the Vorlocks." Desperate panic began to replace Ben's confusion. Aliens, spaceship, potential abduction scenario. His eyes darted towards the gas station, now a beacon of blessedly mundane junk food. That's very kind of you," he stammered, taking a cautious step backward. "But see, I'm a very busy guy. Lots of important stuff to do, so—" The Vorlocks tilted their heads in unison, a movement that was oddly unsettling. "Enlightenment must not be delayed," Zerzan intoned. Before Ben could formulate another half-baked excuse, a force field encased him. He found himself propelled into the ship, the gas station receding with alarming speed. "Wait! Whiskers!" he yelped, a last spike of terror cutting through the absurdity. Had he remembered to clean the litter box? Meanwhile, on Fluvia, a package materialized in a swirl of light. The Fluvians, in a state of near-hysterical joy, tore it open. Inside, nestled amongst packing material, was a single, slightly crumpled, fuzzy sock. A wave of pure reverence surged through the crowd. A sacred relic! They immediately began to replicate the artifact with shimmering threads and luminescent gels, vying to create the most emotionally evocative version. Fluvia would soon become awash in a sea of neon, slightly damp sock replicas, all in the name of galactic unity. Ben would likely remain blissfully unaware of the sock mania for some time to come. At that moment, he was hurtling through space, a look of dawning horror plastered on his face, clutching a half-empty bag of space-themed cheese puffs as his only shield against a truly bewildering future as an accidental interstellar guru. Ben stared out the ship's viewport, his mind buzzing with a mix of dread and the lingering remnants of cheesy dust. Earth, a familiar blue marble, dwindled in the distance. Apparently, when highly advanced aliens offer you a ride, refusal isn't really an option. So, he started hesitantly, turning to his captors. Benefactors? Were there intergalactic etiquette guides? Where exactly are we headed? "To the Vorlocks' homeworld, enlightened one," Elder Zerzan clicked confidently. "Your wisdom will streamline our society towards ultimate optimization." Ben stifled a groan. Optimization sounded suspiciously like work. His gaze landed on a console covered in blinking, indecipherable readouts. "Can I, push some buttons?" he asked, a flicker of childlike curiosity battling his rising claustrophobia. The Vorlocks exchanged what Ben was pretty sure were deeply concerned glances. "Perhaps a brief demonstration?" Zerzan relented with a wary tilt of their head. A small screen flickered to life within the console. A strangely familiar sight greeted Ben's eyes. Is that Nyan Cat?" he gaped, a memory of the viral internet sensation stirring in his sleep-deprived brain. The Vorlock's multifaceted eyes widened in near synchronization. A ripple of clicks and whirs passed through them. Were they holding an urgent telepathic conference on 2010's meme culture? Analysis, symbolism of unparalleled depth, Zirzan declared. A looped progression with no true destination. A rejection of linear achievement. Truly you are a visionary, enlightened one. Ben decided not to clarify that Nyan Cat was the virtual equivalent of nails on a chalkboard to him. If aliens mistaking his bad internet habits for profound wisdom was the key to survival, he was ready to deep dive into his meme archive. News of the Pajama Prophet's arrival on the Vorloc's homeworld spread like a virus through a poorly secured network. Their rigid, hyper-organized society was thrown into delightful chaos. The Vorlocks, in their quest for ultimate efficiency, embraced Ben's lifestyle with a zeal that bordered on obsession. Citizens abandoned their meticulously planned schedules for impromptu naps. Productivity reports were replaced with philosophical debates on the true meaning of potato chip crumbs and couch cushions. The concept of athleisure sparked a fashion revolution, as Vorlocks everywhere proudly sported fluffy robes and mismatched socks, convinced they were the pinnacle of enlightened fashion. Ben, initially terrified, found himself basking in the unprecedented luxury. His every whim was catered to, from unlimited snacks to a personal holodeck, where he could binge-watch terrible reality shows to his heart's content. It turned out alien servants were big on efficiency, too. However, a nagging worry gnawed at him. His accidental broadcasts must have reached other corners of the galaxy. What if his ramblings were being misinterpreted elsewhere, with equally absurd consequences? One day, lounging amidst a mountain of space-themed snack wrappers, it hit him. The key to fixing this mess might lie in the very thing that started it. His malfunctioning translator left forgotten on his coffee table. Hey, you guys think we can, try to power up that translator again? He asked the hovering robotic servant, trying for nonchalance. Maybe it's got some residual data, purely for meteorological, phantasmic. No. Wait, astronomical. Oh boy, big words are my enemy here. Scientific curiosity stuff, of course. Ben mentally cringed at his own lame attempt at sounding wise. He braced himself for the alien version of an eye roll. Instead, the servant chirped affirmatively and zipped off. A good while later, the translator was back in his hands, still stubbornly sputtering and beeping randomly. Late-night pizza cravings, internet outages. Why are squirrels so determined? It was the epitome of the mundane. Yet, he watched in horrified fascination as the Vorlocks began a fervent analysis, finding profound meaning in his complaints about spotty Wi-Fi. There was only one solution. Ben took a deep breath. All right, guys, I have a confession to make. Ben gripped the malfunctioning translator, a newfound determination battling his chronic laziness. He wasn't some enlightened pajama prophet. He was a dude with crummy internet and a powerful hunger for snacks. It was time to clear the intergalactic air. This thing, he said, waving the device towards the assembled Vorlocks. It's a translator replica I won in a space convention raffle. I didn't even know it was real until recently. A Vorlocks in the room began speaking. That is true, O Pizza Prince of the Extra Pepperoni, Lord of Coupon Tuesday. Ben couldn't help but cringe at the title. We snuck that version of the translator into your apartment to learn more about humans. A chorus of clicks erupted in excitement. Precisely, one of the Vorlocks affirmed. Your unique insights offered an unprecedented glimpse into the complexities of human existence. But, and here's the thing, it's completely broken, Ben said. Silence descended, a rare occurrence in the once efficient Vorlocks halls. Elder Zirzan's multifaceted eyes blinked in slow-motion confusion. But the wisdom, the snacks, the elevated lounging, Zirzan clicked, their voice strained. Snacks are great, Ben agreed, lounging even better. But all my ranting, it means absolutely nothing. I was complaining about my cat shedding on the sofa, not sharing some great cosmic truth. The Vorloks stared, the revelation rocking the foundation of their carefully optimized world. A ripple of dissonant clicks echoed through the chamber. Zirzon asked, Can you demonstrate? A hint of desperation in its voice. Ben cleared his throat. He had to get this right. Okay, he began, taking a deep breath. Imagine a squirrel. Those annoying, fluffy-tailed menaces that steal your birdseed. Now imagine that squirrel figures out how to use the toaster. The translator let out a fractured squeal, spitting out a jumbled mess of alien syllables. Ben winced, hoping it didn't sound like a prophecy of interstellar doom. The Vorloks erupted in a frenzy of analysis. Their society was known for its hyper-logical approach. But this was pure chaos. Debates raged. Were squirrels secretly the most intelligent life forms? Should toasters be classified as potential weapons of mass destruction? Should all Vorloks immediately invest in extra fluffy slippers as a gesture of interspecies goodwill? Ben watched, a strange sense of satisfaction mixed with mounting worry. Okay, maybe fixing the misunderstanding wasn't the smartest plan after all. Suddenly, a new message pierced the chaotic clicks and whirs. It arrived via a shimmering transmission on the translator, a burst of bright colors and pulsating shapes that made Ben's eyes twitch. Greetings, O enlightened one, a high-pitched, bubbly voice chirped from the image. We are the Fluvians, and we have received your message of peace and fluffy comfort. Ben choked on a rogue cheese puff. Oh no, this can't be happening, he thought. The image shifted, revealing a sea of Fluvians, each clutching what appeared to be neon, slightly damp socks? Behold, the Fluvian spokesperson squeaked, sacred relics inspired by your wisdom. A close-up of one of the socks filled the view screen, complete with what looked like glitter gel embellishments. Ben pressed a hand against his forehead. It was time for damage control, level cosmic. He only hoped the translator wasn't about to broadcast his groan of existential despair to the entire galaxy.